Seamless migration to the unified Microsoft Defender for Identity sensor. This is our topic today. My name is Heike. I welcome you to another episode of the Virtual Ninja Show. And I also welcome Ronit. Ronit, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ronit. I'm a senior product manager in the identity security team.
And welcome to the Ninja Show. And you have an exciting topic, and I would love to jump right in. So, why should people migrate to the new unified sensor? And what is it?
The unified sensor, also called the V3 sensor, is a sensor that we went out GA in last October. So it is built into the Windows system. 90% of the prerequisites of the classic sensor, the V2 sensor, are officially gone. We have full support of all detections, identity security posture recommendations, and logical activities between the two sensors. So all the content stays the same, but just getting better. And also the V3 sensor is much more lightweighted than the V2 sensor, since it is built into the Windows operation system, and also because it uses MDI sensor as infrastructure of that sensor.
I was just wondering, is this basically integrated in the Microsoft Defender for Endpoint? You said MDE, we all call the acronyms, but Microsoft Defender for Endpoint sensor, which is built into the Windows 10 operating system, and then people can download the sensor for different operating system. Is this basically the basic?
Basically, yes. Once you have already Defender for Endpoint onboarded on the server, so all you need to do is to go to the portal or the API, one click, and then you have already the V3 new identity sensor.
Okay, you don't have to download and...
Exactly. No million of configuration, non-configuration, opening ports, communicating with other teams in the organization, just one click, very simple.
I mean, this is already a huge benefit, right? Basically a toggle, a click in the portal. But there's also some other differentiators that come with the new sensor. Do we want to go through these?
Sure. As I mentioned before, if we look at the V2 sensor, the classic sensor, it required many manual configurations, opening ports, setting up service accounts. So in the new sensor, all of that is gone. That Defender for Endpoint is already onboarded. And also as part of that, we are using Windows operating system. On top of that, one of the biggest advantages is the name resolution performance. So in the V2, we had a lot of problems that caused by opening the NNR ports, misconfigurations, and lower true positive rate and quality of detections and so on. So in the V3, the unified sensor, we're using a new method, which is a combination of passive NNR and cloud NNR, where cloud NNR is using already the data that we have on the devices of your environment from the device inventory. And the passive NNR is actually using authentication events that we already collect as part of Defender for Identity. But now we use it also to do the device resolution. So everything is out of the box. And the main advantage in this NNR method is that the customer no longer is required to have Defender for Endpoint onboarded on the endpoints.
Wow, I mean, this is huge. Okay, to quickly summarize, so it's a single-click, super automated experience. Updates are coming through the built-in Windows updates, which is awesome. So before you had to do this weekly if you wanted manually, or automatically as well? No, manually.
No, so in the classic sensor, it was automatic. So customers didn't have any control on when the update is coming down on which domain controllers. In the Windows update,
They have
so
the
they have
control.
much more control. So it's a good point. And also because it's Windows, they have more confidence in the update itself. It's not a third-party update or something like that.
Cool. And then prerequisites that we had to use the .NET framework had to be installed and all of this. Now there is nothing. And then different operating versions, also DCs with additional roles, which is probably a certificate server, of ADFS server and all of this. And then detection and ISPM's full support as it was before. This is already awesome.
And I want to also call out that the V3 sensor uses much less resources than the V2. So no CPU or memory issues that might occur in the environment.
Okay, cool. And then how does this now look like behind the scenes?
So how does the migration work? So very similarly to the activation, it's only a one click from the portal, also can be done from the API. The migration process is about 20 minutes top until it completes the full transition from the V2 sensor to the V3 sensor. And the main thing here is our guarantee that we have zero downtime, zero coverage gaps, zero data duplication. What it means that the V2 sensor, the previous sensor, is stopping to communicate and be active only when we see that the V3 sensor, the new sensor, is running and sending the data as it should. So that way, we're promising that there's no downtime and no data loss while you do the migration itself.
Okay. I know that you brought a demo. What's happening
I
in the
did.
demo?
So I go to the sensors page from the portal. I choose a specific server that I want to migrate. You can see for each of the sensors that are already deployed, you have a migration state where you can see full visibility of which sensors are already ready for migration, which fail, which are in the process, which are not ready, and so on. And so, as I said, I choose a specific sensor that I want to migrate. I click migrate, I confirm the migration, and then it just starts the migration. And after 20 minutes, I can refresh the page and I can see that the sensor completed the migration. And in the process of the migration, I can see that it is migrating. So in each step of the way, I can follow up the migration state status. I can see whether it's migrating, whether it completed, whether it failed for some reason, and so on.
So if something goes wrong for whatever reason, do we have documentation? Do we have error log numbers that people can look at and then figure out what's going on? And if it's failed, I think you mentioned before, which is important, V2 will run until V3 is up and running in a good state, right? Okay, there's no time loss, data loss, or anything.
Exactly. So if for some reason the migration failed, nothing happened because V2 is continuing to run. The data and the events are continued to be sent to the sensor. So no risk there. For the error logs, so we have currently we have audit logs in the portal, which shows the migration failed. And right now we are working on providing better visibility and better troubleshooting guidance for any migration failure.
Okay, I mean, that's pretty straightforward, right? So you click on a couple of buttons and things magically happen in the background. Do we recommend customers to still then, even though it says, hey, all shiny, beautiful, to do something afterwards?
Yes, so we have a few post-migration steps, some recommendations from our side to the customer, such as removing any service account that you used for the V2 sensor, which are no longer required, enabling the automatic Windows auditing, which is also a pretty new feature, which allows the customer to have automatic configuration of any required auditing setups. And our recommendation is that since the end pickup software and the classic sensor is no longer needed because you have the new one, so you can safely uninstall it.
Okay, and that's also pretty straightforward to uninstall it through software components or something. Okay. So you mentioned deleting an account that previously was used by the V2 sensor. what's the account used by the V3 sensor if we are not migrating that account?
It is a service account, specifically GMSA, that is being used for initiating response actions. So in the V2, it was mandatory in order to initiate a response action. But in V3, we're not using that anymore. We're using something else that is called local system.
Good. So I think pretty straightforward. I'd love to remind everyone about the benefits that are getting from migrating, and check out the documentation. Ronit, do you have any last recommendations or call to actions for our audience?
No, I just wanted to say that our official recommendation is to go and migrate and go to V3. That's our long-term strategy. And that's it. And thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope I'll see you all soon. Bye.